Another book highlighting behind-the-scenes moments before Biden's exit last year. This book reportedly reveals that aides decided not to have the former president take a cognitive exam. A report in the New York Times reading that his White House advisors considered giving him such a test to prove his fitness for a second term, but they worried it would draw new attention to his age. Kayleigh McEnany is here to sort out the logic on this one. Hello to you.
Hello, good to see you.
They worried the mere fact of taking one would raise new questions about his mental abilities.
I have real problems. Yeah, I have real problems with this. I remember Carl Bernstein and that soundbite where he talks about the president getting a type of rigor mortis, where he stiffed up at the podium. His sourcing was long-term close friends of President Biden. He said there were 15 such incidents going back a year and a half, so to January of 2023. So all these incidents are happening. Close friends are seeing it. A cognitive test should not be viewed in a political lens. It is a real national security threat to the country to have a president with these issues. What if a nuclear war, God forbid, had started? We know that there were national security disasters on his watch. If I'm a parent who lost someone in Afghanistan, I'm wondering what his thinking was like in the Situation Room. Did some of these episodes happen there? Did they happen with foreign adversaries? There are some things that are bigger than politics, and when it comes to issues like mental capacity, 25th Amendment issues, that is bigger than politics.
So Ron Klain was the chief of staff at the time, and he was frustrated, or maybe he wasn't anymore, but David Axelrod, who had worked for Obama, they'd both worked there in the Obama administration. They're frustrated with each other, and Klain shot a note to Axelrod. He said Klain wanted to know why Mr. Axelrod was fueling doubts about a Democratic president who was on track to begin a re-election campaign. And he said, there's no Obama out there, Ax, Mr. Klain told him, the book recounts. Who's going to do it if he doesn't do it? It just sounds like they were flailing from the beginning, like they knew. And yet what really bothers me, not only the national security standpoint, but they kept taking people's money from them, saying, we need you for your campaign, send us money. And people were doing it. If you support Democrats, you were sending them money, and they knew all along.
They knew all along. And, you know, Ron Klain, you say there was no Obama out there, but how do we know that? What if someone like Gavin Newsom would have been given a runway to truly have a primary? He's a talented person. I don't think anyone could have beat Trump in that cycle. Trump was made for that moment, and I think his movement was right on point. But you gave someone 107 days to run a campaign when you put Kamala Harris there. David Axelrod was absolutely correct to raise the political stakes for the party and those donors. You're exactly right.
Okay, I'm sitting between two former press secretaries. And here's the third on the same topic here. Jen Psaki was asked about it. Watch.
Cover-up is such a loaded phrase. Cover-up is often like a crime, right? We're talking, when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime
I understand,
here,
but other people have used that term, and I think it's a bit of a dangerous term. A lot of the people who are mentioned are good human beings, and so I like to think that, no, they would not be a part of an active, let's hide from the public what we see happening privately.
She didn't stay too long as press secretary, and when she left, I thought that partly it was because she was like, I've already been in an administration, I don't want to do this anymore. But maybe she got out before it got bad. I don't know.
It may be. And, you know, when you look at Olivia Nuzzi, who wrote that explosive piece about President Biden and his mental acuity, she talks about an April 2024 incident where reporters were standing outside of a room where they had just met him, and the reporters debated how dead the president looked. Those were her words. And one reporter said 40%. My point is, you had outside reporters observing this interaction. And Olivia Nuzzi says, back to 2020, all the way back then, reporters could see signs and they started to ask questions. So I have to believe that Jen Psaki saw something. Maybe she didn't. Maybe the cognitive decline upticked upon her leaving in 2022. No one knows. But reporters were picking up on things as far back as 2020.
Here's another thing I would say about just some from my own observation in 2020, that because of COVID and the strict protocols they had in the White House to protect Joe Biden at all costs from any sort of, no one saw him. They didn't have interaction with him, really. I mean, it was few and far between. He did no interviews. He hardly did any events. They didn't have lots of meetings coming into the White House. So there was not as much White House interaction with the president as you and I would have had.
That's a great point.
During that year.
Yeah, because Jill Biden's team allegedly cocooned him as well. So there were even resident staff was kept away from him.
And I also think that in some ways you see what you want to see.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kayleigh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yes, see you at noon.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.